Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine one of the most revered spiritual figures in history, not only encountering Christ in a vision, but having that experience fundamentally shift his whole understanding of the divine. It sounds, well, almost legendary, doesn't it?
It really does.
But this deep dive takes us right into a truly remarkable period in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. We're focusing on his profound openness to different religious traditions.
And his personal experiences with them.
Exactly.
Well,
all carefully documented in the biography, Life of Sri Ramakrishna.
And what's really compelling here, I think, is the sheer depth of these explorations. This wasn't just, a casual interest.
No, not at all.
It was a deeply personal, transformative journey into the essence of these faiths. And for you, listening, this offers an extraordinary chance to think about how different spiritual paths might converge.
Right, how they can lead to similar truths.
Yeah, and maybe enrich your own understanding of spirituality or the connections between different worldviews.
So our mission here is to trace his encounters, Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, as they're recorded in the biography.
And really try to grasp the profound realizations that came out of these very personal encounters.
Okay, so let's get straight to his encounter with Christianity. Our source tells us this journey sort of began through a connection with Sambhu Charan Mallik.
Ah, yes, the gentleman from Calcutta.
Right, described as generous, knew the Bible and other scriptures. Apparently, Sambhu had a garden near the Dakshineswar temple where Ramakrishna often visited.
And a real connection grew between them. It's fascinating, Sambhu wasn't Christian himself, was he?
No, but he'd read the Bible aloud to Sri Ramakrishna.
And that exposure acted as like a catalyst. It sparked this deep desire in Ramakrishna to experience the Divine Mother through that specific Christian lens. And what happened next was, truly exceptional.
Exceptional is putting it mildly. Picture this. Sri Ramakrishna is in Jadunath Mallik's garden house. Quiet place.
Beautiful artworks there, apparently.
Yes, including this poignant portrait of the Madonna and Child. And as he's deep in thought about Christ's life,
something happens.
He has this overwhelming experience. The image seems to come alive. Brilliant rays of light stream from Mary and Jesus, flowing into him.
Completely altering his state of mind, the text says.
And this precise moment is pivotal.
Absolutely. What's striking is his initial sort of internal conflict. The biography talks about his prayers to the Divine Mother questioning these profound changes.
Yeah, you can imagine his Hindu beliefs were being challenged by these powerful new feelings.
Exactly. He felt his devotion to the Hindu deities was being swept away. The book uses the phrase tidal wave of new feelings.
A tidal wave, wow.
And in its place grew this deep, abiding respect for Christ and Christian teachings. He even started having visions.
Visions of Christian devotees in churches praying and so on.
And this whole internal shift leads up to an incredibly powerful, life-altering experience.
Okay, what was that?
He's walking in the Panchavati, this quiet grove, and he sees a figure approaching. A serene man, foreign features, striking large eyes.
And the biography mentions something specific about the nose.
Yes, that his nose was slightly flat, but it didn't detract from the beauty or serenity of his face at all.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. The moment Ramakrishna sees this figure, there's this profound recognition.
Like an inner voice.
Yes, telling him, there is the Christ who poured out his very life for salvation. This is none other than that great yogi, Jesus, the embodiment of divine love.
Wow. Just instant recognition.
Instant. And the encounter didn't stop there.
Right, the figure of Christ embraces him.
A gesture of deep connection, and then merges completely into him.
And then he enters samadhi.
Exactly, that deep state of meditative absorption. He experiences union with Brahman, but Brahman with attributes.
Which solidified his conviction.
His deep conviction that Jesus Christ was, in fact, a direct incarnation of the Lord.
It's an incredible account.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it gets even more specific. Years later, he asks his disciples about descriptions of Christ in the Bible.
And they didn't really find detailed physical ones, right? Just general ideas.
Yeah, they suggested he'd look like other Jewish people of the time, fair skin, maybe an aquiline nose. But Ramakrishna just stated, simply, that in his vision, Christ had a slightly flat nose.
Just stated it as fact based on his vision.
Right. And this detail, seemingly minor,
turns out to be significant later.
Okay.
After Ramakrishna's passing, his disciples found historical accounts, and one did mention Christ having a somewhat flat nose.
Incredible. It really speaks to the perceived authenticity of his visions.
Definitely adds weight to it.
Okay, so he's had this profound Christian experience, but his openness didn't stop there. What about other religions? Buddhism, for instance.
Well, what's fascinating here is his perspective on Buddha. He aligned with a common Hindu understanding.
That Buddha was also an incarnation of God.
Exactly. He held immense reverence, real devotion for Buddha. He even believed Buddha's divine presence was still being actively worshipped.
Where?
Within the sacred triad of deities at the Jagannath temple. And his respect for the sacramental food, the Mahaprasad from Jagannath.
He considered it highly purifying.
Supremely purifying. Akin to Ganges water, it underlines that deep reverence.
And his respect also extended to the founders of Jainism and the Sikh Gurus, didn't it?
Yes, definitely. Through interactions later in life with followers of those traditions, he developed profound respect for the Tirthankaras, the Jain enlightened teachers, and the 10 Sikh Gurus.
And didn't he keep images related to them?
He did. It's noted he kept a small statue of Mahavira, a key Tirthankara, and that portrait of Christ in his room.
And would burn incense before them.
Regularly as a sign of reverence. But it's important to note, the source suggests he didn't explicitly call the Tirthankaras or Sikh Gurus incarnations in the same way he did Christ and Buddha.
Ah, that's an interesting distinction. So how did he view the Sikh Gurus then?
His understanding, based on conversations with Sikh devotees, was that they were incarnations of King Janaka.
The wise, saintly king.
That's the one, renowned for wisdom and detachment. The story he heard was that Janaka, just before final liberation, expressed this desire to keep doing good in the world.
Okay.
And this desire led to his successive births as the 10 Sikh Gurus, establishing the religion before finally merging with the Supreme Brahman.
And Ramakrishna found this credible.
He found that explanation entirely credible, yes.
So through all these, incredibly diverse encounters and practices, what were some of Sri Ramakrishna's own big spiritual realizations about himself?
Well, a central one was his firm conviction that he himself was an incarnation of God.
A divinely commissioned being.
Yes, and that his own spiritual achievements weren't just for him, they were meant to benefit humanity. He saw a big contrast between how quickly he attained realizations.
Compared to the struggles of ordinary seekers.
Exactly. He realized the divine with remarkable speed. So he felt his journey wasn't solely for his own liberation. It was meant to usher in sort of a new era of spiritual understanding for everyone.
And he also had some unique views about his own soul and even his future, didn't he?
Indeed. He saw his soul as perpetually free. He suggested the intense practices, the sadhanas he undertook, weren't strictly necessary for his own liberation like they are for most people.
Interesting.
And he even spoke of a future reincarnation.
Predicting he'd be reborn. Where?
In the northwestern part of India, roughly 200 years after his current life.
With a specific purpose.
Yes, to help liberate a great number of souls. He even hinted that missing that future opportunity would be a significant spiritual loss.
Wow, that's quite a prediction. And our source also says he foresaw his own passing from this life.
Yes, he gave specific signs to the Holy Mother, Sarada Devi, his spiritual consort.
Signs that would indicate his time was near.
Correct. Things like him accepting food touched by a non-Brahmin, spending nights away from Dakshineswar in Calcutta, and one instance where he fed someone and then ate the leftovers himself.
Specific actions.
Very specific. He also said that in his final days, he'd only be able to take liquid milk preparations.
Which is what happened.
Which is exactly what came to pass, according to the biography.
Okay, shifting focus a bit from his personal realizations, what were some of the overarching spiritual convictions that really solidified for him during this intense period?
Perhaps the most significant, the most enduring one, was his unwavering belief in the fundamental truth of all religions.
That's a core message associated with him.
Absolutely. Having personally practiced within various faiths, he concluded that every established system is a valid path.
Leading to the same ultimate divine reality.
Precisely. The biography explicitly states that demonstrating this universality was a central purpose of his life, his advent, his willingness to immerse himself so deeply to prove it.
Makes him pretty unique in religious history.
Truly singular.
And he also had a unique way of looking at the different philosophical schools within Hinduism itself, right? Like dualism, qualified monism.
Absolutely. He saw Dvaita, Visishtadvaita, and Advaita not as contradictory systems fighting each other,
But as complementary stages.
Exactly. Complementary stages on a spiritual journey suited to different types of minds or levels of development. He saw Advaita non-dualism as the highest realization.
Experienced in samadhi.
Yes, that state beyond ordinary mind and language. Then Visishtadvaita, qualified monism, he saw as a level the intellect can grasp, where the absolute and its manifestations are both real.
Okay.
And dualism, Vaita, he saw as valuable, even necessary for those still strongly attached to the senses, using devotional practices, symbols, and so on.
It's a really harmonious way to view them.
It is. It reconciles seemingly conflicting viewpoints within Hinduism beautifully.
What about his thoughts on action versus inaction in spiritual life?
Well, his insight was that a truly pure, highly evolved mind naturally moves beyond the compulsion for action.
It just sort of transcends it.
Or becomes incapable of it, perhaps divinely guided away from unnecessary activity. He used the analogy of a new mother completely focused on her baby.
Wow.
But for most people, the vast majority, he stressed the importance of karma yoga.
Unattached duty.
Exactly. Fulfilling responsibilities, but keeping the inner focus always on the divine. Like his other analogy.
A maidservant.
Yes, who works diligently for her master, but knows her real home is elsewhere. He strongly advocated combining this selfless action with regular remembrance and meditation.
And it sounds like these realizations also led him to foresee something new emerging, a new kind of spiritual order.
Yes, the biography is clear on that. He perceived the Divine Mother's intention.
Her wish.
Her wish to establish a new spiritual order based on the universal principles and truths that he himself had lived and shown.
Wow. And he also had an insight about certain souls being drawn to him.
He did, a specific spiritual insight about destiny.
And what was that insight?
He realized that individuals who were in their final birth, meaning those souls who had sincerely called out to the Lord even once in their lives, would inevitably be drawn to him.
Like a spiritual magnet.
A powerful, irresistible attraction for those nearing the end of their journey in this lifetime.
So to sort of bring this incredible journey full circle, we've explored Sri Ramakrishna's truly remarkable openness.
Experiencing the divine through so many different traditions.
From that transformative vision of Christ to his deep respect for Buddha, the Jain leaders, the Sikh Gurus.
And these weren't just intellectual exercises, were they?
Not at all. They were profound personal experiences leading to significant realizations about himself, his mission.
And that fundamental unity underlying all the diverse paths to God.
His conviction in the truth of all religions, his synthesis of philosophies. It's a timeless message, really.
Inclusivity and spiritual harmony.
It really gives you, the listener, a lot to consider. Thinking about his embrace of multiple traditions, how might that inform our own understanding today? Interfaith dialogue, our personal journeys?
Yeah, or what about his rapid realizations? Does that suggest something about unique spiritual missions, or maybe even different rhythms of spiritual growth for some people?
Good questions. Things to mull over.
Definitely. These are crucial questions that invite deep reflection. His life, documented in this biography, is just such a potent reminder.
A reminder of the potential for unity, understanding across faiths.
And the extraordinary possibilities within personal spiritual experience itself.
So if this deep dive into Sri Ramakrishna's explorations has sparked your curiosity, we really encourage you to check out the biography, Life of Sri Ramakrishna.
Or other resources on his life and teachings. It's a truly captivating journey
into the very heart of spiritual understanding.
I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.